All right, guys, what's going on? It's Coach Will, and in this video here, I want to talk about how we resolve super high seasonal churn. So I have this video here is prompted, and I have this post up by Kevin McKinnon here in the BLG school group. He posted this a day ago, and he said, "Hey guys, we're having a problem right now, and we're looking for advice. We lost 15 members this month going into December, and we're worried it's going to get worse. Reasons for cancellations are always related to scheduling, but I'm guessing Christmas time is playing a factor. This is a super busy time of the year with hockey on my end, and we make enough money doing that to compensate, so it's not a huge issue financially, but it's really discouraging for the CrossFit side of things, and we're wondering how we can hold retention in December. I'm open to running an ad campaign in January if anybody has any ideas. Thank you." Okay, all right, so and we have some comments down here, and we have a couple other, we have some input from some other gym owners. Mike Monarch's giving some really good advice here. Allison's kind of saying she's shared in the situation. And honestly, this is a really shared experience for a lot of gym owners. And this is something that every year we get these kinds of posts. And oftentimes, this is something that I'm trying to think about how I can proactively give advice here on this without saying that there isn't anything you can do about it, right? Because to some degree, churn is something that when it's happening, to be thinking about how you can resolve it is often too late, right? Like churn in the mind of the buyer, it's not like they wake up one morning and just decide, I'm no longer going to buy this thing. This is something they're already thinking about weeks and maybe even months prior. Like it's already coming, the seed is already there, and as the season goes on, the seed just gets watered and the plant starts to grow, and they get to a point where they need a really good excuse to cancel, right? Because they can't just tell you because they like you, they can't just tell you, oh, I'm canceling even though there's no real good reason, I'm just not using it, right? They don't want to really take ownership in front of you. It's easier to put it on the scheduling and the seasonality, right? And this is why in at our mastermind level and even here in the pro group level, we spend the entire month of October talking about November and December churn. And for Kevin here, who was part of the program during that period of time, and many other gym owners, it gets ignored. So it's kind of if anything, a lesson learned, and a lesson learned because the answer is for Kevin here and for many other gym owners watching this post or in the shared experience is it's too late, right? Can you now get ahead maybe of the December churn? Sure, you may be able to get ahead of some of that, right? But there's also going to be January churn too, because January does turn a new leaf, and you do get that churn starts to slow down. People are over the holiday hump, and it will slow, but there still is some churn because there's people that will get through that season and realize I haven't even attended classes in 2 months. It's a new year. I kind of want to turn over. I want to do something new, and they're going to go a different direction because if they haven't, this is my big point with the video here, is people naturally without people are pretty simple. People don't tend to think that hard about these things. It's not as weighty of a decision in their head as you like to think. It really is as simple as this, and that's if I'm a customer and I'm thinking, hey, I don't really use this thing, and now it's the holidays, and I start looking at my budget, and I realize that I've been paying $200 a month for something, and I'm not using it, and I'm not showing up. I'm just going to decide to stop paying for it, right? It's really that simple. We all do it, right? We all do it no matter how much money or how little money you make. We don't really look at our budgets that often until we get to that time of the year where we need to go into an uncomfortable place with our budget. And if I'm the average person right now, and there's not economic stimulus money being just pumped into the market, and I'm just working with what I have to work with, I'm not generally going to continue to pay for something forever if I'm not using it. So one of the things that we've been tracking for a long time with our clients that are in our mastermind is we have a monthly meeting in our mastermind. And that monthly meeting is a pod call with just 3 or 4 of gym owners in the mastermind, and we go over their numbers and we make them pull their attendance numbers. And it's funny is most gym owners, I'd say 90% of them, and these are some of the better gym owners in our program, don't keep these numbers handy. They don't know them. They struggle to even get them or know where to look for them or how to assemble the report. And that tells you that this is something that they're not proactively looking at themselves. If I have to prompt you and tell you to go look at your attendance numbers, and you don't even know how to make the report, that's obvious that you haven't even looked at it. And so the solution here is knowing your numbers, right? Because what we'll often see with looking at these numbers with gym owners is that if your average client attendance rate is less than 13 sessions per month attended, you are going to start to see churn, right? You are going to see more people, you're going to see an increase in cancellations, right? So what that looks like is say you have 200 clients, right? Let's do an easy math. Let's say you have 100 clients. It's probably more relative for most gym owners. Let's say you have 100 clients and you pull a report and it shows that you have 1,000 attended classes this last month, 1,000 attended sessions, right? So let's do the quick math on that so you can figure out how to do this math, because I think the math is important, right, to answering this question. So you have 1,000 classes attended. You're gonna divide that by the total number of active members you have, and you can segment this audience into those that are paying for like a recurring membership, right? Divided by 100. Okay, that's 10 classes per month that on average your recurring members are attending. Now, if we take this and divide this by the average number of weeks in a month, 4.2, that means they're attending 2.38 classes, 2.3 classes per month. Okay, so there's not really a world where the average person is training for 2 days a week where they're seeing improvement, right? Like, in fact, training 2 days a week is often just you being sore all the time because you're not training at enough of a rate to get a regular adaptation to not being sore all the time. So if you start seeing your average member attendance rate dip below 3, it's safe to say pretty soon here you're going to see people canceling because like they're not attending regularly enough to make this something like that both physically that they're adapting to, that they can like keep showing up and starting to feel better and better about it, right? They're actually just feeling bad all the time because they're, if you only train something 2 days a week at a level of intensity, at any level of intensity, you're going to be like really, really sore. It's not really conducive towards goals. Now, in addition to that, if someone, it takes like 66 days on average for someone to drill a new routine into a habit, or to undo a habit into like not a habit anymore, right? So there's if in any 66-day window, roughly 2 months, if you're seeing a rate of attendance down below 3 per week on average, just doing the math I did, which looks like this, I'll just put it out for you guys. Okay, if I just pull up a Google Doc here and I just show you the math, it's really this simple. Okay, so it's, and I'll put this doc where this below this video here for those of you that are in our program. So it's total number of sessions attended divided by total number of active recurring members. This could be like group class members, right? Because that's what we're talking about here, is a group class program. I mean, really this could apply to any kind of gym now. Personal training, big box gyms, anything. Because really at the end of the day, like if people aren't attending 3 days a week, if the cost is low enough, they'll stay, right? If they're paying $27 a month, they'll keep paying it because like it's negligible. But if they're paying like, any type of premium boutique membership access, like $150 plus in most markets, like they're not going to keep paying for it if they're attending less than 3 days a week. And I'm gonna get to in a second how you ensure that they attend 3 days a week. I'm gonna get to that in a second, okay? So total number of active members, equals this is equals. Let's see. Put here divided by. Okay. There. Okay. Equals total average sessions per month. Now, your KPI is 13. Okay. Now, we want to take that steps further, divide it by average weeks in a month, 4.2, and you get average sessions per week. 3 is minimum. KPI. Okay. Now, having owned 2 of these gyms, this was like once we had a client, this was like a big part of our front end operations, right? Like we had a front desk person, and one of the biggest parts of their job was every Tuesday they would go and they would call everybody who didn't show up last week and get them on the schedule for a class this week, right? That's where we provided on accountability. A lot of gyms talk about accountability, but they don't provide any. Like you just provide workout programming. You don't actually call them if they don't show up. You're not doing that work, right? So like, and the reason why we do every Tuesday is because like we know there's a week like Thanksgiving week, right? Where like people don't show up the whole week, and like they kind of get a little bit of a pass on that as long as they're back on the wagon by Monday, or we see them scheduled this week, right? So we would pull everybody up on Tuesday to see that didn't like attend on Monday, last week and Monday. So we'd pull like a 10-day record. Everybody the last 10 days that isn't also scheduled for a class this week, right? It was really easy for us to figure out how to do this in our gym management software. And if your gym management software isn't that easy to figure this out, either you need to figure out how to be better at the tech, because most of them do have that in there, and you'll blame it on them. And I'll tell you, none of them are easy, okay? None of the gym management softwares are that good. That's why we're looking at building gym management software, because most of it sucks. But like I've worked with like almost all the different gym management softwares. I'll tell you, the data is there, okay? So don't blame it on the tech. Take ownership of that and figure out how to pull the report you need, or get the support you need from that software to figure out what that report is, okay? Because you need that report, okay? Last 10 days, every Tuesday, calling the people that didn't show up, right? And like, I know you're looking for the fancy answer. I know you're like, I know you came here probably looking for like some tip or tactic or like quick fix or hack. There is no hack. This is the work of your job as a business owner, okay? Like when it comes to retaining your members, is like you selling them a gym membership. They need to use it. If they don't use it, they don't keep paying for it, right? And like you might get by on a particular month with them dipping, but if you go 2-3 months in a row below a 13 minimum KPI per month of sessions attended, average per client, you will see churn rate increase, right? And we've been tracking this for years with gyms, and like it is like clockwork, right? It is like clockwork. The gyms that see a reduction in sessions attended, it is often preceded within a 60-day period that their churn rate will increase and they will start losing members. And most gyms will talk about their churn rates being very, very low. Oh, we keep everybody we have, until they don't, right? And that's because like most people aren't going to question things most of the month, most of the year, until they get to that time of the year where they need to start accounting for their budget, where they're going to get that extra $200 to buy little Johnny the Lego sets that he wants, the Hot Wheels City car sets that he wants. And I know this stuff because I have a son who loves Legos and loves Hot Wheels City tracks. That's what all the kids love these days. And if those things are like $100, and if I'm the average person living off like a $70K a year household salary, that's probably the member of most of your gyms. Like when it comes to finding an extra $300 or $400 or $500 for November or December to go buy a little Johnny his Hot Wheels City set, if I'm not using my gym membership, I'm just going to cancel it or pause it. It's really just common sense. So when you ask me a question like, what do I do to combat this? Like, well, really, what you can do is get in your time machine, go back to October, and start doing this stuff. Because you honestly, like, if you reach someone proactively before that seed gets in their mind, they're unlikely to make you the thing that they chop. They're going to chop something else because they have a bunch of discretionary spending they're making every month, right? Now, what are some like hacks or tricks you could do to combat this? Well, back in October, we talked about doing the Rovember, right? Rovember is an example. It's a member challenge. It's a challenge that you offer to your members internally to participate in, that you offer for free, that is based around the hidden thing that you're doing in there is attendance, right? And that's you can do whatever you want. You can come up with whatever you want, but ours was called Rovember, and we did it every November, and it was a 100,000 meter row in November. Not a 50,000 meter row, not a 20,000 meter row, not a 70,000 meter row, a 100,000 meter row. And people are like, why 100,000 meters? It's like, well, 100,000 meters, if you show up to 20 days of classes this month, you're going to have to row 5,000 meters. Now, 5,000 meters, a 5K, probably takes about 20 minutes to do, right? This sounds like a lot, but I will tell you that we used to do this every year at our gyms. We have a lot of gyms here at BLG that run this same play every November, that their biggest attendance month and some of their biggest months revenue-wise are November, because they get people to show up. And what's funny is a lot of gyms will report when they come to work with Big Little Gyms that like they had their best November ever, and they'll compare prior years, and they'll say, well, we went from losing 20 members a month to not only like getting 20 members a month, but like also not losing the 20 members a month they were losing before. They lose like 3. And that's because like the things these buyers are liars, right? They're going to tell you whatever they need to tell you to get out of the situation and let them know that it's them, not you. When in reality, it really is you, right? Because you didn't proactively put something out there for them to participate in November, right? And then we would follow November up with something in December. We would do like our final 30, right? Last 30 days of the year, attend 3 classes per day, right? And we would have, or we would play, we were CrossFit gym, so we do CrossFit bingo. You can do fitness bingo. We did things where ultimately hidden in there, one of the things you had to achieve was the thing that made you show up a minimum of 3 days per week, right? And ultimately more attendance. Attendance is the number one attributing factor to retention in a gym. It's not your coaching. It's not your programming. I mean, those things can contribute to poor attendance, right? If your programming and your coaching is not very good, then people don't want to show up for it, right? Which, how good are you at what you do if people don't want to show up for it? But like, if you just got people to show up and do whatever it is, just show up, like that would lower retention more than anything, right? So that's it, guys. That's the answer to the question, right? Like, you develop things internally, and like you might think, oh, Rovember challenge, it's rah rah rah. And it's not about rah rah rah. It's about retention. It's like you're challenging your members to do something that's hard and giving them a reason to show up. And we would do the row thing because they could show up at any hour of the day and get their row in, right? And if they're busy on Thanksgiving Day, we would open up the gym on Thursday morning of Thanksgiving. Here in the States, it's Thanksgiving, or on Black Friday before there's Black Friday shopping, and we would say, hey guys, the gym's open for 3 hours. Come get your rows in. And they would show up. And I'll tell you, is nothing will help people develop a routine into a habit more than getting them to do the opposite thing that they would normally do in a situation, right? So this is how you combat super high churn. And there's really not a acute fix for it. You know, this is like, churn is more of a cancer than it is a cold, right? The cancer lingers under the surface a long time before it comes to a head and causes major issues, right? This is not a cold where like it comes on for a week and you can take some cough medicine and get through it, right? Churn is a cancer, right? And it manifests below the surface months before it comes to a head. And so that's the answer to my question here, guys. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but like that's not what you pay me for. And that's not what you sit here and watch these videos for. It's to be real with you and say that like this kind of a question is a symptom of a much bigger issue. And that like, you know, Kevin here, for example, just to answer his question directly, you know, it's awesome that his hockey program is going for him, but it's probably why he's not focusing more on not doing these things for the CrossFit side of his business, is because he's got something over here, a shiny object that he knows will stabilize for him. And I bet if I asked him, did you do some of the things I mentioned in this video over the last couple months, despite us talking about it over the last 2 months here in the BLG program? My guess, knowing Kevin, I really like Kevin. He's awesome. He's definitely a guy who takes ownership over his stuff. I guarantee you he will own that and say, no, I didn't do that stuff because I was very focused on this over here. You know, so these are the things that we have to do. And it's funny, it's like these things, you know, taking a Tuesday to call the people that haven't been in your gym in the last 10 days and are on your schedule this week and say, hey, it's Kevin over here at such and such CrossFit. I noticed you hadn't been in the last week. You know, what's been going on? What's been happening, right? And having this like 2-minute conversation with your people, and then you saying, okay, well, let's get you back on the horse. I want to get you on the schedule for this week because that's what I'm calling. I do this every Tuesday. Call everybody who hasn't been in the last week to get them on the schedule for this week to make sure, because it's part of what you pay me for as your coach, is to make sure you're here. What day this week are you planning on being back in? And I would literally manually schedule them in our gym management software, and the system would send them the email, right? I would go and book them in. I wouldn't tell them, go open up your app, pick a time, put your information in, book it. I would just book them, because ultimately it fell on me if they didn't show up and do that, right? And so I would do that. So anyways, that's it, guys. Have an awesome rest of the day. If this video is valuable to you and you found it impactful and how you think about doing churn and how you approach this, then click the like button. If you're watching this on one of my channels where it goes out into the public, out into the internet sphere, hit the like and the subscribe and the notification bell for more content just like this. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.